We welcome you all here. This is a wonderful point in time because it recognizes the reality of the situation. All of this, as you know, was prompted with a very horrible tragedy that occurred with Larry and the family, and that began an opportunity to bring people together and see what we could do to recognize not only his heroic life, but those of others. And the family, right from the start, said, let's make the park that recognizes all of Livonia's fallen heroes. And I was, along with everyone else, very touched by that. We're going to begin. We did want to welcome you all here, and there's still a few extra seats here. If some folks would like to come in and grab those seats, we couldn't estimate the crowd. But we want to start with a prayer that will come from the police chaplain, Father Kevin Thomas. Father, if you'd step up, please.
Let us pray. As we gather here, remembering those who gave the full measure of devotion in their duty to all of us, to our society, to our community, to our families, we commend this ground to you, God our Father. May all those who walk here and come here be mindful of the great sacrifice that was made on their behalf. May you instill their hearts and ours with that same courage and honor and integrity that they expressed. We ask your blessing upon all of us gathered here, especially the members of our fire department, our police department, all those who work for the public good. Keep them safe in your care. Hold them always. Strengthen them in their commitment to justice and to peace within our community. We ask this in your name, God, who is our Father and who reigns and lives forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you, Father. Appreciate that. And now we're going to ask you if you're able to rise, if we would all rise, and we are going to have the Pledge of Allegiance led by two of our very, very finest here today, and from our firefighters, Mike Rushneck, and from the police, Scott Morgan, are going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Gentlemen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Appreciate it, guys. Get some shade there. We appreciate that. Have a seat, please, if you would, those of you that have them. And we will move on with a number of people that we want to bring up to the microphone to share some thoughts that they have with you today. And we are especially honored and thankful that Linda Niehazel is here, sporting what I think is just an outstanding haircut there, Linda. Very, very sharp. And Linda is going to share some thoughts with us. Linda Niehazel, let's recognize her now at this time, please.
Thanks, Mayor. I feel like I should say something about the haircut. It's not my choice, but I'm very healthy at this point, so my hair will be longer and I'll feel more comfortable with it shortly. But thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say a few words on the behalf of the family. It's an honor to have Dolphin Park renamed after Larry for his sacrifice. Ed Morris started that initiative. He was a childhood friend of Larry's, and I think it was great that Ed felt the need that that type of honor should be bestowed on Larry, and as a family, we're thankful. It's also an honor to have this beautiful memorial constructed to pay tribute to all of Livonia's fallen heroes. We're grateful to the mayor for his leadership and continued support. The park committee volunteering a considerable amount of their personal time to design a truly beautiful memorial site with a conscientious effort to make sure that every detail was considered. We know that the park committee is working hard on fundraising efforts to make these plans a reality. The family is thankful for all of their hard work, as it's turned out to be more of a challenge than anyone had anticipated. Thank you to the community for their continued support to our family and their generosity to the development of the Fallen Heroes Memorial. On a personal note, it's been 2.5 years since Larry's death. And I still struggle with the loss. The efforts by everyone involved really touch my heart, as this park and memorial is a way for Larry to live on and never be forgotten. I'm proud of Larry's accomplishments over his years of police service, including his actions on January 17th, 2011. Larry did what he was trained to do as a police officer, and he would not have had it any other way. This park and memorial shows that the community honors and values Larry's commitment and sacrifice for this community, and for that I and my entire family are very grateful. Thank you.
Our next speaker is someone that many of you know, a friend of our state, active in many different capacities in his life, but all of them have one common core element, and that's to serve and to make a difference, a positive difference in our state. Currently, our Attorney General, we're also very pleased to have Mike Cox, a former Attorney General, with us today as well. Bill Schuette is going to be our keynote speaker. He has cut his hour-and-a-half speech down to 55 minutes, so it's going to be just sort of a fash in and fash out, but as the ranking enforcement officer for the state of Michigan, we are honored and delighted to have Bill Schuette here. Bill?
That Jack Kirksey has a way with words, doesn't he? But Jack and I have been longtime friends, and thank you very much, Mayor, for the privilege and opportunity to be here. And I can assure you, particularly on such a hot day, that as honored as I am to be the keynote speaker, my comments will be short, concise, and to the point on 95 degrees here in the shade. I do want to say thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for this privilege to be here. I know State Representative Walsh will be on his way, Laura Toy and John Pastor and members of the City Council, so good to be with you. Bob Stevenson, who's headlined this up, and your efforts, Bob, and the Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police. We work together continually, almost every day. It's good to be with you. Laura Cox, our outstanding county commissioner, and also Shannon Price is here, and it's nice you brought your husband as well. Mike, good to be with you. And supporters who've made this possible, friends and supporters of Livonia, and most importantly, I'm honored to be here with friends and family members and relatives of Larry Niehazel, Irvin Johnston, James Kelly, Sidney Detloff, and Gary Kresge, all of whom reported for duty in heaven long before we expected their shift to start. And my name is Bill Schuette, and I'm so privileged to be Livonia's Attorney General and Michigan's Attorney General, the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the state of Michigan. And I'm honored to be here at this ground, at this site, where we're putting a marker, where we're going to construct a memorial of fallen officers. And I can assure you, the names of Niehazel and Detloff and Kelly and Johnston and Kresge will not be forgotten. They will not be forgotten, Linda. I can assure you that. And that's a promise. Now, in January of 2011, it was the early weeks of my new service as Attorney General of the state of Michigan. And on January 17th, I learned that there was a shooting and a murder of a Livonia police officer named Larry Niehazel. And I didn't know Larry, didn't know Linda, but I attended the visitation through the help of Bob and Chief Kurt and others. And what it did, that meeting, when I met Adam and Aaron and Linda and gave them a hug, is it reinforced and it sharpened and fortified my commitment about the importance and significance of public safety. Safe streets, safe schools, safe neighborhoods in Livonia and across the state of Michigan. Because those who are firefighters and police officers, there's a fine line between chaos and order. There's a fine line between violence and safety. And all these responders and officers protect us from the murderers and the thugs and those who want to create havoc in our lives and in communities. And the thug who murdered Larry Niehazel had 6 felonies and 9 misdemeanors. But you know what? He was walking the streets on his own. And that was wrong. And because of what happened tragically to Larry, it caused me to introduce and work with the legislature to pass and the governor to sign something called VO4, Violent Offense Fourth. So if a person had committed a 4th violent felony, then that person would be locked up behind bars, mandatory 25-year prison term. Behind bars. And if VO4 had been in place in January of 2011, Adam and Aaron and Linda would be a husband and children and a father named Larry who'd be here today. And I guess the point here is that tough laws, more cops on the street, is an equation for public safety for the state of Michigan. Now, I think it's important that everybody know that there are some voices out there and there's some advocates out there who want to let up on the pedal of public safety. There are some voices and advocates out there who say that, we need to relax our sentencing laws and adjust parole terms and sentencing guidelines. And I have to tell you, I don't know what planet they're living on. Maybe they live in some cushy, gated community, but it's wrong. And my message, Bill Schuete's message to those who want to let up on tough sentences and laws and guidelines and let the bad guys get out early, I'd say this. Number one, there's a difference between someone who's ripped off a CD at a Barnes & Noble, or a Starbucks. There's a difference between that type of criminal activity and someone who's a repeat violent offender who murders people. Number two, Michigan has the highest crime rate in the Midwest. We have 2 cities that unfortunately are the top 2 murder capital cities, the top 10 homicide rates in the country. We have 4 cities that are unfortunately in the top 10 of the most violent cities in which to live. And those are the grim statistics, and we need to do better. Third point, I'd remind those voices who want to lessen our criminal justice standards is that we had to reform and operate our prisons more efficiently and more effectively. We had to bring down our costs, but make sure the bad guys are locked up. I'd remind them of that. And if these statistics don't move those voices who want to lessen and relax our prison sentences, I would say this. I'd encourage them they should have been here today in Livonia. They had to talk to Linda Niehazel, meet with Adam and Aaron, who don't have a dad. Or maybe they want to talk to Pam O'Rourke, who's a widow because her husband Patrick died almost a year ago in a shootout in West Bloomfield, leaving 4 kids behind, a baby who was 8 months old, and children ages 4, 8, and 10. And I'd encourage each and every one of those who want to relax standards and adjust and modify parole and lessen up on tough sentences, you better come talk. You better come to Livonia. You better talk to the family members who've lost loved ones who operate as public safety officials and leaders and operate on that fine line between chaos and order and violence and security. And when you do that, I think you'd understand that tough laws, more cops on the street is an equation for public safety for the state of Michigan. Now, 150 years ago this year, a president stood on some ground in Gettysburg. And his name was Abraham Lincoln. And he said that at that time, and I'm quoting, "We cannot consecrate enough, we cannot dedicate enough this hallowed ground." And you know what? Those words of 150 years ago to this year are equally applicable right now to this ground where we'll dedicate and consecrate this memorial, this marker to these heroes in Livonia in this area that help us provide safety and security in our homes. Now, my mom used to say, "You know, Bill, you're judged by the company you keep." And she is right. She was right. You are judged by the company you keep. I'm honored to be in your company. And today in Livonia, on this ground, I'm in the company of heroes. Thank you very much for letting me be with you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Certainly a message that I know is in our hearts, and we support the direction that this leader is taking, and he has well chosen his words for today. And thank you so much for being here, Bill. We greatly appreciate it. I would be, there's one thing to be politically incorrect. There is quite another not to recognize that your wife is in the crowd and not introduce her. Patricia Kirksey, the first lady. Put your hand up, stand up, do whatever you want. On Thursday, we celebrate our 60th anniversary. She tells me to stop talking about it and so on, but there were several gifts we did not receive 60 years ago, so there is a list on our website for anybody that might want to entertain that thought. But on a serious note, I couldn't be a luckier guy in the world than to let Pat share my life with her. We're now moving on, and Bob Stevenson, former chief and now head of the Chiefs of Police in the state of Michigan, is now going to take over the program and make some introductions and some remarks. Bob?
Mayor, I'd like to thank you for putting me after Linda and the Attorney General. I thought we were friends. Thank you. Yeah, we were friends. About a year and a half ago, I got a phone call from Mayor Kirksey, who said his idea, we wanted to do a memorial park for our fallen heroes, and I thought that was an outstanding idea. And then, as the mayor does, he asked the next question, would I mind being the chairperson of that committee? And I was honored and quickly jumped and accepted that. And then a second later, I thought, what did a person that can barely draw a stick figure do, accepting the head of a committee that's going to design a park like this? But I fell back and did what I've always done throughout my career, and that is find tremendously talented and ambitious people and surround yourself with them. Step back, get out of the way, and watch what they can accomplish. And wait till you see what we've going to accomplish and have accomplished. With that, it's a process, been about a year and a half. We've started and been working on this. Our path has been described as much more like a river, meandering, than it has been a straight path from A to B. I think we originally started this thinking we would put up a statue, but as you've seen from the renderings here, we've ended up with a whole park area that's going to be dedicated, and it's just going to be an awesome, awesome place to come to remember our fallen heroes. With that, let me take in a second here and introduce the members of the committee. that are here. Some of them are here, some of them are not here. First, and I'd ask you to hold all your applause and we'll recognize everybody at the end. Mayor Kirksey, obviously, is a member of our committee. Mayor Engebretson, former mayor of Livonia, is a member of the committee who could not be here today. There was some pressing family issues that he had to take care of. Councilman Brandon Kritzman, I know, is here in the audience, and I'll be introducing Brandon in a second. Bob Sakuda from Delta Gear is a member of our committee and a driving force. He just got back from Mexico, I believe, on business and is unable to be here now. Lori Cade, twin sister of Larry, is on our committee and been very active. Donna Niehazel, who is here. Larry's sister-in-law is also a member of the committee. Kathleen McIntyre, who is in the audience, is here, and Lou Barati. That is our committee, and I would ask those that are on it to wave their hand and please accept a round of applause. I think that as we go on and you see what we've designed and what comes out of this, you're going to be very impressed, and a lot of hard work has gone into that. A lot of meetings have taken place. There's been the typical committee discussions that you would accept in committees, but the outcome is just going to be outstanding. A couple of the people that I need to recognize that have done a lot above and beyond, and they actually ended up, after the competitive bid process, being two of our major contractors here, and that is Larry Runyon, who is in the audience, from LSR Incorporated, and Gary Bianco from B&B Concrete Placement are both in the audience. They spent many, many of their hours designing this on their own times before they even knew what their involvement was going to be, and a lot of the design that's come about it is because of their hard work and dedication. Gentlemen, thank you very much. This project also could not come about if we did not have some major donations from some individuals who were extremely generous and felt the passion to remember our fallen heroes that have stepped forward with their donations. And I don't know if all of them are in the audience or not, but I'm going to read off their names and then ask at the end that we give them a round of applause. Cambridge Underwriters, Ken, Judy, and Dan Hale. Sir. Bill Brown Ford, Ruth Ann Ford, or Brown, I'm sorry, from the Spree Committee, Dan Sperling, the Livonia Community Foundation, Brian Meekin, and I know that Brian is in the audience here, Livonia Chamber of Commerce, Dan West, and Dan is out there in the audience also, Alpha Stamping, Chuck Dardis, Janice Newsom, and Nick Strumbos, Orchard, Hiltz and McClement, John Hiltz, Dan Frendendahl, and Brian Kritzman. From Livonia Public Schools, Randy Liepa, and I know Randy is out in the audience, and Ron Stano is a large personal donation, and Mike and Laura Cox, personal donation, and Laura for all the work that you did facilitating the great donation from Wayne County. Round of applause there for our... And then we have a couple other members of our committee, ad hoc members, which we've drafted as we've gone on. And Kathleen McIntyre's husband, Brian Kochieri, has been drafted, and also Sue Barna to help out. So our committee continues to expand. It's a big job, but it's a job that everybody's well pleased and honored to be associated with. We're so proud of what we're going to have here to recognize this. And this will be a tribute to all of our current police officers and firefighters that are here in the city of Livonia, but hopefully as others drive by, they'll recognize that the sacrifices that have been made here in Livonia are made around this country on a daily basis in cities throughout the United States as our police officers and firefighters strive to keep us safe and secure in our communities. And I hope that all will remember the sacrifices that many of them have done in that service. At this time, I'd like to ask Brandon Kritzman to step up, if he would. When I talk about people who have given time above and beyond, there is nobody involved in this project that has given more than Brandon has. Brandon has really spearheaded and had the vision to expand this, what was to be a monument, to now a whole park that's dedicated. Brandon has spent countless hours, along with Larry and Gary, going over this. He's probably actually spent more time involved in this than everybody else in the committee together. And Brandon, on behalf of the committee and such, I want to thank you for your dedication and turn this over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. I've been saying all along that it's been an absolute privilege to be part of this committee from the start. We had that first meeting, and I knew we were in real trouble when Chief produced the first sketch. And it had all of the creativity that he just discussed. A stick man with a crooked stick, a little chunk of concrete over there. Gary, your part would have been a lot smaller. And a monument, just a big square. But what we've been able to do is to try to really dig down deep and figure out what is this journey that we go on as individuals in a community who are protected by the fire department, by the police department. They go out each and every day. They drive up and down Shady Side as the back entrance to the public safety department. This park needs to be a reflection of their journey, their life, but also our community and how we react to such loss. What this project is, it's a representation of the best of what Livonia has to offer, a commitment to the people who live, work, learn, and play here. A commitment to our community by demonstrating our commitment to those who protect and serve this community. But it comes at a cost. It comes at a cost far easier to bear than the loss of those heroes who are to be honored here today. And while we were able to move past the crooked stick man and the patch of concrete, we've been able to embrace this park and really transform it into something that's going to be representative of that journey, that commitment, a lasting element here on the Civic Center campus to revisit those names of those fallen heroes. But what we're asking for today, while we thank everyone who has donated those larger items, you know, the flagpoles, the picnic tables, the planters, the bike racks. We even got someone to sponsor a garbage can. I'm glad I threw that on the list because someone did it. The major sponsors who have donated their time, effort, and money for the memorial. But really what I look at as our greatest need at this point is the building blocks that this park will be created by. The brick paver program that we have 3 different size brick pavers that you'll see throughout the park. There's different price points, different opportunities for each of you to participate and leave a lasting legacy. Put a message on it. You can engrave in memory of someone. Maybe it's a thank you to the police department. Maybe it's your badge number if you're a participating officer or retired. There are so many opportunities that we can engage here. But why are we doing this? We're doing this because I can walk through this park from that corner down here and I see it. I already see what's going to be here because I've been so intrinsically involved. But what we need now, aside from wind the other direction, is the opportunity to really get started and get our hands dirty here. We're here today to celebrate the groundbreaking of the park. I'm going to leave that portion to Mayor Kirksey. I got tasked with asking you guys to dig down deep and reflect as to how important this is for our community and how important it is for you personally. We've had a lot of talk, a lot of conversation, and a lot of support along the way, but I can't tell you, with all of the funding and all of the donations that we've gotten, this project total is a $550,000 project. Phase 1 is $380,000, and we're trying to get that done by the end of this year. So we need to ramp up our community involvement and our efforts there. So that's that's the uncomfortable task that I was given today. But there's plenty of information available on the website, nehazelpark.org. You can get it through the city council office. You can get it through the committee. There's plenty of opportunities there. So I appreciate your time, and I will now turn things back over to Mayor Kirksey. But one last comment, though. I have to apologize. You know, it was a more expensive project. We had initially included air conditioning, but we had to cut that for budget reasons.
You want to help me pull the flag back? We'll pull it towards 5 Mile Road ticket or whatever we do. There we go. Thank you, Brandon.
All right.
Appreciate it.
I hate Brandon. You know, people thought before he arrived in Livonia that I had a sense of humor, but he makes my sense of humor pale into insignificance with his great ability to communicate. And we appreciate all that he's done and will continue to do. And while he has done that, Brandon and his wife are the proud parents of 5 young daughters And with some of the stuff coming up, and some of it was critical in terms of the eyes of the committee, Brandon said, tonight I have to be somewhere else, and that somewhere else was with his family. So he has his priorities in order. He gives the city a voracious amount of his time, but he still remembers that he is a husband and a dad. A great thing. We're now going to ask the Vice President of the City Council, John Pastor, to come up, and he is going to try to recognize the elected officials in the audience, and if they'll just hold their hands up, and then we'll do a round of applause for them. If he misses you because our list is not perfect, we were charging $20 a ticket. Some people have snuck in. So we're not sure exactly who's here, but John will read the official list, okay?
Thank you, Mayor. And good day to everyone. I want to start off by introducing, of course, our Attorney General, Bill Schuette. Did you get the check? Wasn't the Attorney General's, though. That was $100 because he did the speech, right? Okay. I don't know if Representative State Rep John Walsh is here yet, but I know that he's supposed to be here. He's on his way. We have our Wayne County Commissioner, Laura Cox, with our former Attorney General, Mike Cox. We have Shannon Price, Wayne County Commissioner out of the 10th District. We have Judge Kathleen McCann from the 16th District Court. We also have Judge Sean Kavanaugh from the 16th District Court. We have Terry Marecki from our City Clerk's Office. Our City Treasurer, Dennis Wright. We have our Council President, Laura Toy. We also have Brandon Kritzman and Councilman Jim McCann. We also have former Councilman Brian Meekin and former Councilman Joe Taylor. And we also have Lieutenant Tim McGilvery representing the Wayne County Executive, Bob Vacano, here. And I believe that is all the people that we have, or at least that have paid so far. Mayor, in closing, I appreciate everyone being here. Hope to raise lots of money here today, and you'll also get a $1,000 check from our company to help support the cause. Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate that, and we've got his pledge on tape, so it's secure, as they say. Now we're going to move along and have some people offer some brief remarks from various groups that they represent. And starting off, we'll start with Laura Toy. If she was here, she was going to be a little bit late, but there she is. And Laura's going to bring greetings from the Livonia City Council. Laura Toy.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor, very much. Well, good afternoon on a very warm day. What can you say? Mayor Kurtzy, our Attorney General, our former Attorney General, our judge. You always be nice to those people that can put you in jail. I just want to say, my goodness, what an awesome, awesome job. And we're so proud that Brandon Kritzman has done such a super job, that Jim McCann helped them and John Pastor helped them and some of the other council members that he didn't mention. Of course, Judge Kavanaugh's here too. You know, my father was a policeman, and since I was 4 years old, and now being 29, I know that scariness of my mom that would sit there and watch shift changes. And I never really realized what she was going through. But every time you heard a siren, and we lived at 5 Mile in Farmington here, it could be a scary kind of thing that was happening. I remember the night that the fireman was doing a call, and a car came up and struck his legs off, literally. And so we have a lot of heroes, and with Larry and others that have given their lives for all of ours and for our safety, they're never fallen heroes, because we're always going to forget. We're always going to remember them, and we'll never forget them. God bless all of you. Thank you.
Just a quick story that could take a half an hour, but Glenn Toy and Ken Kirkwood were probation officers when I was with the probation department, not as a probationer, but an employee, for anybody that's getting ready to write nasty letters or anything. But one evening, Ken and Glenn had a great sense of humor. Small police station across the street at that time, and they thought they had put an M3 or M1 firecracker, or whatever one of the big ones are, in the commode just to scare the guy that was on the desk awake about 3 in the morning, without realizing that they would destroy the entire commode. So the story goes on how they replaced it and so forth, but it lets you know that they were right on the job. Couple of great guys. And now John Walsh, who was going to speak, had a appointment in Pontiac that he could not excuse himself from. He's on his way back. Will probably be there for lunch that we'll announce in a minute following this ceremony. So John apologizes and wished that he could be here, but couldn't. And Laura Cox, if you feel up to a couple minutes in the sun, Laura's not been feeling well. We're happy to have her back in the road of health. And Laura Cox, our Wayne County Commissioner, and an individual who significantly helped us with our funding of the park. Laura Cox.
Thank you, Mayor. It's really an honor and a privilege to be able to take part in such a, I guess I should say, outstanding project. And it just shows a lot about the community and how much people mean to us in the community, how much the police and fire mean to us, just like the veterans. I got to play a little small part in the Veterans Memorial. And I always tell people, you know, this job is about fighting. And I fight a lot downtown, and I'm sure you all know about it. But this was actually something that I was really, really happy to fight about. And it says a lot about our community when I called up the mayor and said, hey, you know, what do you guys want to do with our parks money? This is the taxpayers' money that we're bringing back to the community. And he told me about this project, and I said, anything I can do, and we did. So I've been really happy to be able to be a part of this, and I think it's just a great thing for our community to do for what's so important to us, and it shows a lot about what Livonia means and what Livonia is about. And I'm just happy to play a little small part in fighting to bring our money back here to do something so wonderful and beautiful. So I'm happy to do it, and I think we got 2 years and maybe another. We'll see. Thank you so much.
I'm ducking under the tent between speakers because my dermatologist told me I better do it. Thank you, Laura, and she is a fighter. She now has Shannon with her so that when she raises a resolution or a motion, she's got a second. And to have fighters there looking after us and helping us in many, many ways, we greatly appreciate it, and thank you very, very much. Very instrumental for this particular project and the one across the street. And now we would ask Chief Kurt Cade if he would come to the microphone and offer his remarks. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be very brief as we're all melting here. But before I get started, I just wanted to take a minute and I want to recognize Larry's mom who's in the crowd. Monica Niehazel, would you stand? Okay. Or raise your hand, whatever you choose. And Patrick O'Rourke, who we lost last year in West Bloomfield. His father is here, seated next to Monica. Thank you for being here. I just wanted to acknowledge and make just a few very brief remarks regarding our service, the police service. And when we choose this career or this passion, we recognize the inherent risk that comes with it. And it is a risk that we accept, that we train for, we prepare for. But even with all of that, there are many issues or parts of that that we have no control because we are generally responsive to what is brought before us. And through all of that, Livonia has lost 4 officers in its history. Sidney Detloff, James Kelly, Irvin Johnston, and of course, Larry Niehazel. Officer Detloff was our first officer that we lost in the line of duty, and he was struck by a vehicle while investigating a family disturbance on 7 Mile at Haggerty many years ago. Officer Kelly died while training in a training exercise for our SWAT team. Officer Johnston, he died just about 2-3 years prior to Larry of a heart attack shortly after a struggle that had occurred with another individual. Then, of course, Larry, we lost Officer Larry Niehazel just over 2 years ago, our first officer to die feloniously in the line of duty while he was pursuing a felon. This park and this location of the park is very meaningful for all of us at the police department and the fire service, and I know Shad's going to follow me with his comments. But with the location being where it is, and Councilman Kritzman pointed to this, at shift change and during our shifts down Shady Side, our officers pass by this point routinely throughout their day, coming and going, doing their business. And once this park is complete, and I would even suggest at this point, once we have begun the process, which the clearing of some of the trees which occurred last week and then the groundbreaking today, this site will offer our officers and our community an opportunity to reflect on our purpose, to reflect on our mission, to reflect on the sacrifices that have been made. And with that, on behalf of all the members of the police department, I'd like to thank the mayor for your leadership in this project, the park committee for all of their time and volunteering to make this park a reality. I want to thank the community for their support, not only with this park project, but also to this police department in our mission. Without their support, the task before us would be impossible. And I'd like to thank the members of my police department for what they do every day, the professionalism, their commitment to this community and to our profession. I thank you, and I'm honored to be associated with each of you. Thank you very much.
You know, the chief worked his way up through the ranks and was recognized for his leadership, and we're so happy to have him as the chief. Shad Whitehead, the chief of the firefighters, did the same thing. We saw early on in his career that it was almost inevitable that one day he would be the chief. He is. Both of these gentlemen do an outstanding job. With great pleasure, Shad Whitehead, the chief of the firefighters.
Well, first of all, just in lieu of the heat index, this is going to be relatively short. But again, to kind of mimic exactly what Chief Kidd was talking about, first of all, that to enter into public safety, it's not because of fanfare, it's not because of recognition for anything. Most of those that are involved in this profession, police and fire, first and foremost, want to give back to something larger than themselves. And I think that we're just so fortunate and blessed, and I know I am, to be a part of an organization, to be in a city that that holds public safety in very high regard. That we've got support not only from city administration over the decades, but from the community as a whole. And for that, I'm very thankful. It's a privilege to serve with the best there is in public safety. It's extremely humbling to even be standing up here right now. What I can tell you is that the men and women who serve all have made sacrifices over time, whether it's time away from family and holidays, whether sacrifices have been mental or physical. They've all made sacrifices, and this recognition here for those that have made the ultimate sacrifice. And what I can tell you is that those that are police officers, those that are firefighters that protect this community each and every day, they come to work, they do the job. I raised my family here. I was born and raised here. And for that, I'm extremely thankful that I can let my girls walk down the street and ride their bikes and walk down to the store. And they get to do that every day. What I can tell you is that the people that work for both of our organizations are ordinary people who are sometimes called to do extraordinary things. And again, I thank all of those that have been involved and recognized here today that made this possible. Without the community support, the contributions, the contractors who sought better to be involved in the community as to almost take a loss. because they know how important it is to be involved with a project like this and to be able to give back. The location of Knee Hazel Park is fantastic because, again, it's seen every day by not only those in the general public visiting the City Hall complex or the Civic Center area here, but also for those that traverse back and forth that are on duty each and every day. So again, I thank you. Thanks for being here in support of this. And again, I just want to say on behalf of the fire department, we appreciate just the opportunity to be involved.
Now, not exactly on our program, but I would like all of the active duty police and firefighters that are here, retirees, if they would come up, stand behind the podium, if they could make just a quick journey up here, and let's recognize them when they're here with a great round of applause. So gentlemen, all of you that are putting yourself in harm's way each day or had a career with us, let's bring them up and your life is safer, your quality of life is better, and our community is the community it is for a lot of people pulling at the same time. We definitely could not do it without these folks. Let's give them another round of applause, please. Thank you all very, very much. We appreciate it. So if you want to stand in place for a minute, we'll do a little photo op in a second. Have a seat there, please. You've probably never heard of a photo op, but we're getting ready to do one. We're going to start with a initial group of people that will be manning these shovels and throwing a bit of pulverized dirt toward the audience, but not into the audience. And that group will be the first group that starts, and there will be a picture to record that moment. There would also be an opportunity if members of the committee later on a second stage want to come up and grab some shovels and another picture to recognize them, police officers, firefighters, and so forth. They're here what they would like in the series that we have set up here. But the photographers are ready, and we're wanting to make this an opportunity for anyone and everyone that would like to have their picture taken today to remember this event. Hang on for just one moment. If you've been to groundbreakings before, you usually buy or lease chrome-plated shovels. We are so stingy in directing every dollar toward the park that we went out and bought cheap shovels, a $3.99 can of paint, and painted the shovels. Don't tell anybody; they'll look like the real stuff in the pictures. So once we get the first picture taken, if you would like to head off to the luncheon, if you're not going to be part of the subsequent picture opportunities, it's on the 5th floor of City Hall. And Primo's Pizza has been very gracious to donate some pizza and chicken and salad and refreshments up there in an air-conditioned building. So feel free after the first photo, if you're not going to be involved in others, to head for that 5th floor, and we hope that you can stay with us. At this time, coming up to man the shovels, we'd ask Bob Stevenson, Kurt Cade, Shad Whitehead, Linda Niehazel, Laura Toy, John Walsh is unable to be with us, Bill Schutte, Laura Cox, and Brandon Kritzman. If you would step up this way, and if there is a spare shovel, we will have the council people that are here that don't have a spot fight over the spare shovel. No violence, please. You notice I have my shovel. So we're going to start in just a moment. We'll have a quick ceremony because it is very hot and very uncomfortable. And then down that sidewalk, if you want to leave your car parked, elevators in the center of the lobby, 5th floor for a great lunch. And so we're about to proceed with the first activity. One of you guys want to come up? I'll let you get this one. And I'll come back. Two per shovel. Okay, here's what we do.
Yeah, give us
It takes coordination, concentration, dedication. So what we're going to do is get the shovels in the ground, take a bit of dirt.
Yes.
Somebody is helping me.
Sorry, Bill.
Not too much dirt because no workers' comp will be paid today. And on the count of 3, we'll aim it out 2-3 feet, and this will be our official groundbreaking. If you can make it all the way to the fair spot, you can do that as well. So 1, 2, 3, let's do it. All righty. Okay, get a little dirt on your shovel. Aim for the bare spot.
Yes.
Try not to hit your neighbor, as they say in school. 1, 2, 3. All righty.
Shoveling dirt. Nice hot day.